The Multiverse Employee Handbook defines cosmic insignificance as the emotional turbulence experienced upon realizing that on a universal scale, you rank somewhere between a neutrino and a typo. This revelation tends to arrive suddenly, perhaps while staring at the night sky, reading about galaxy clusters, or being placed on hold by a customer service line that spans 3 continents and 2 fiscal quarters. It is the moment you realize the observable universe contains 2 trillion galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars, and not one of them is named after you. It's not personal. The cosmos is simply very large, and you are, by all measurable standards, not. Your entire existence, every triumph, every heartbreak, every awkward elevator conversation occurs within a planetary speck orbiting an average star inside a suburban arm of a moderately interesting galaxy that, from the perspective of deep space, looks suspiciously like cosmic lint. And yet, the handbook notes, humans persist. They form committees, they alphabetize spices, they worry about what other specks think of their haircut. This is either a magnificent act of rebellion or a scheduling error no one's bothered to fix. Cosmic insignificance isn't meant to depress, it's meant to liberate. If nothing you do will alter the spin of a galaxy, then you might as well dance. If the universe doesn't care about your email signature, neither should you. And if time is indifferent, you can wear socks with sandals and declare yourself king of toast, because while the universe may not know you're here, you do. And in this corner of space-time, for one improbably specific moment, that might be enough. You're tuned into the Multiverse Employee Handbook. Today we're exploring cosmic measurement scales that make ant farms look like thriving metropolises, using science, satire, and the kind of logic that only makes sense if you're a Type 0.7 civilization pretending to understand Type 3 energy consumption. Side note, if you enjoy this topic, you might want to check out our friends over at Entropy Rising, where they've covered this topic extensively. But first, gather round the quantum insignificance calculator, dear cosmically negligible colleagues, for a cautionary tale of performance metrics and stellar inadequacy syndrome. In the fluorescent-lit realm of quantum improbability solutions, specifically in the Department of Cosmic Metrics and Compliance, which existed in a superposition of statistically irrelevant and measurement error, Nigel Peabody was having what could charitably be called a performance review crisis. It had started, as these things often do, with what seemed like a routine email notification materializing in his inbox with the administrative equivalent of cosmic background radiation. Subject: Quarterly Performance Evaluation, New Metrics System. From Performance Metrics to All.Junior Associates. Team, exciting news. We're upgrading our performance evaluation system to the Kardashev Productivity Index. Your Q3 review will now be measured on a civilizational energy consumption scale, ensuring fair comparison across all galactic benchmarks. Please report to Conference Room Omega 7 for your individualized assessment. Hashtag energy efficiency, hashtag cosmic productivity, hashtag universal standards. Nigel stared at his computer screen, which displayed his current productivity metrics with the cheerful indifference of a machine that had never contemplated its own cosmic irrelevance. According to the new system, his output rated approximately 1/1,000th on the Kardashev Scale, roughly equivalent to what the system helpfully categorized as sentient paperclip with modest ambitions. That's when the square-haired boss materialized beside his desk, hair maintaining perfect cubic geometry despite existing in a universe that clearly favored spherical objects. "Nigel, ready for your stellar performance evaluation." "Well," Nigel began, pulling up his metrics dashboard, "according to this new system, I'm consuming approximately 1.7 kilowatts of energy per day, which places me somewhere between ambitious bacteria and moderately successful mold colony on the Universal Significance Index." "Exactly," beamed the boss. "Now you can see where you need to improve. The company average is about 3/1,000th of a Kardashev unit. You're underperforming by a factor of 3 cosmic irrelevances." Nigel spent the next week attempting increasingly desperate measures to boost his energy consumption metrics. First, he tried leaving all the lights on in his cubicle, reasoning that if Type 1 civilizations harnessed planetary energy, surely his fluorescent desk lamp counted as solar collection. The system remained unimpressed. Next, he filed an expense report for planetary energy harvesting equipment, which turned out to be a slightly more powerful desk lamp. The accounting department rejected it with a note reading, "Insufficient scale for stellar-class energy acquisition." By Thursday, Nigel was attempting to get the office coffee machine reclassified as a fusion reactor, arguing that the process of combining water, coffee grounds, and caffeine dependency constituted a form of molecular transformation. The machine itself seemed pleased by the attention, but continued producing beverages that, while life-sustaining, fell short of Type 2 civilization energy output. "Perhaps," suggested the square-haired boss during their follow-up meeting, "you're thinking too small. Have you considered harnessing the output of our local star?" "You mean the sun?" "That's thinking like a Type 1 civilization. But for your performance review, we really need to see Type 2 initiative. What about capturing the sun's total energy output using a theoretical megastructure?" Nigel looked at his budget allocation, which was sufficient for approximately 3 more desk lamps and maybe a stapler upgrade. "I'm not sure my departmental resources extend to Dyson sphere construction." "That's exactly the kind of limited thinking that keeps employees trapped in the 1/1,000th Kardashev range," the boss replied, somehow managing to sound both encouraging and cosmically disappointed. By Friday, Nigel had reached what philosophers might call enlightenment, and HR would later classify as productivity-induced existential crisis. Staring at his performance dashboard, he realized that not only did he rank as a cosmic rounding error, but the entire company, with all its departments, initiatives, and strategic 5-year plans, collectively rated somewhere between statistical noise and quantum fluctuation on any meaningful universal scale. Such revelation should have been devastating. Instead, Nigel found it oddly liberating. If quantum improbability solutions itself was cosmically insignificant, then his individual performance review was essentially meaningless squared. He was being evaluated by a system that was itself being evaluated by the universe as barely detectable background activity. Just then, an interdepartmental memo materialized in his inbox. Subject: mandatory training. Proper protocols for feeling infinitesimally small. From Human Resources. Please attend our new workshop, Embracing Your Cosmic Irrelevance While Maintaining Quarterly Targets. Lunch will be provided. Sandwiches, not stellar fusion. Nigel smiled, the first genuine expression he'd managed all week. In a universe where his entire species was a statistical blip, there was something beautifully absurd about an HR department offering training on how to feel appropriately small while still meeting performance metrics. He closed his laptop, turned off his inadequately powerful desk lamp, and walked to the break room, where the coffee machine hummed with all the cosmic significance of a very small, very content appliance that had briefly been mistaken for a fusion reactor. And that brings us to the fascinating science behind cosmic measurement scales. Unlike Star Trek's warp drive classifications, the Kardashev scale actually follows thermodynamic principles and our desperate human need to categorize things we can't comprehend. In 1964, Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev was working on SETI, that's CETI, Communication with Extraterrestrial Intelligence, the Soviet counterpart to America's SETI program, because apparently even alien contact needed to be divided along Cold War lines, with the Soviets characteristically deciding that if you're going to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, you might as well have a proper conversation with it. While the Americans were content to sit quietly and listen for alien radio signals like cosmic eavesdroppers, the Soviets were more ambitious about two-way communication, actively beaming messages into space and wondering what kind of civilizations might be sophisticated enough to respond. This naturally led Kardashev to a crucial question. How do you classify the technological sophistication of a civilization you've never met? His solution was elegantly simple. Measure a civilization's technological advancement by how much energy it can harness and use. Kardashev's framework proposed 3 types. Type 1. Civilizations harness all of the energy available on their home planet, about 10 to the 16th watts, roughly equivalent to capturing every photon of sunlight that hits Earth, every earthquake, hurricane, and volcanic eruption, plus whatever energy you can squeeze out of your planet's core. Type 2 civilizations have graduated to capturing the entire energy output of their home star. That's about 10 to the 26 watts, or the equivalent of building a giant sphere around the sun and collecting every last photon it emits. Type 3 civilizations? They've moved on to harnessing the energy of entire galaxies. 10 to the 36 watts, which is the kind of number that makes calculators give up and display error, universe too large. Now, you might wonder where humanity currently ranks on this scale. Are we a proud Type 1 civilization, masters of our planetary energy? Not quite. We're actually what Carl Sagan later calculated as a Type 0.73 civilization. We can harness about 0.73% of our planet's available energy. We're basically cosmic interns who figured out how to operate the office coffee machine, but are still baffled by the photocopier. When we return from this brief quantum insignificance break, we'll dive deeper into why humans rank somewhere between ambitious bacteria and moderately successful mold colony on the universal importance scale, and explore the other cosmic measurements that remind us just how wonderfully, hilariously small we really are in this vast bureaucracy we call the universe. Welcome back, my cosmically inconsequential colleagues. I hope you've spent our brief intermission contemplating your place in the universe and found it appropriately humbling. As Douglas Adams noted in his Galactic Travel Guide, we humans are ultimately mostly harmless, which, when you think about it, might be the most generous performance review our species could hope for on a cosmic scale. After all, in a universe where entire civilizations can be classified by their energy consumption, being described as mostly harmless suggests we've at least achieved enough technological competence to avoid accidentally destroying ourselves while remaining sufficiently insignificant to not threaten anyone else. It's the cosmic equivalent of receiving a performance evaluation that reads, "Shows up on time, doesn't break the equipment." Now, let's dive deeper into how the Kardashev Scale works, because nothing says advanced civilization quite like your ability to harness unfathomably large amounts of energy without accidentally vaporizing your home planet in the process. The beauty of Kardashev's system lies in its elegant simplicity. Instead of trying to measure intelligence, culture, or how many different ways a civilization can argue about pizza toppings,
pineapple!
He focused on something concrete: energy consumption. It's the cosmic equivalent of judging a company's success by its quarterly revenue. Except instead of dollars, we're measuring watts. And instead of quarterly reports, we're talking about geological timescales. A Type 1 civilization has achieved what Kardashev called planetary energy mastery. We're talking about 10 to the 16th watts. That's 10 quadrillion watts, or roughly 10,000 times more energy than humanity currently uses. To put this in perspective, a Type 1 civilization would capture every photon of sunlight that hits their planet, harness every hurricane, earthquake, volcanic eruption, and tidal force, and probably figure out how to tap into their planet's core rotation for good measure. They're essentially treating their entire world like one giant, perfectly efficient power plant. But Type 1 civilizations are just getting started. Type 2 civilizations have moved on to stellar engineering. They're consuming about 10 to the 26th watts. That's the entire energy output of their home star. We're talking about constructing what Freeman Dyson later called a Dyson sphere, a theoretical megastructure that completely surrounds a star and captures 100% of its energy output. Imagine wrapping the sun in the ultimate solar panel, except this solar panel is approximately 186 million miles in diameter. It's the kind of project that makes our most ambitious infrastructure plans look like assembling IKEA furniture. And then we have Type 3 civilizations who have apparently decided that single stars are for amateurs. They're harnessing the energy of entire galaxies, 10 to the 36th watts. To put this number in context, that's roughly equivalent to capturing the energy output of 100 billion stars simultaneously. These civilizations have presumably mastered interstellar travel, galactic-scale engineering, and probably have very efficient customer service systems that can handle complaints from across multiple spiral arms.
Please hold. Our agents are currently busy.
Now, here's where it gets humbling for our species. When Carl Sagan expanded on Kardashev's work, he created a more precise logarithmic scale that allowed for intermediate classifications. According to Sagan's calculations, humanity currently ranks at approximately Type 0.73. We're not even a full Type 1 civilization. We're more like cosmic middle management, having figured out how to harness some of our planet's energy, but still arguing about the most efficient way to do it. To put our Type 0.73 status in perspective, we're consuming about 10 to the 13th watts globally. That sounds impressive until you realize it's about 0.73% of what a Type 1 civilization would be using. The corporate parallels are almost too perfect. Imagine if Quantum Improbability Solutions' energy department had to manage this scale of consumption. Type 0 civilizations would be like startups working out of a garage, probably arguing over who forgot to pay the electric bill. Type 1 civilizations would be managing planetary scale utility accounts, presumably with customer service representatives who understand phrases like total atmospheric energy capture and geological thermal extraction protocols. Type 2 civilizations would have energy departments that make our current power companies look like lemonade stands. They'd have account managers whose job descriptions include stellar output optimization and Dyson sphere maintenance scheduling. Their monthly energy bills would be measured in units that don't exist in our current vocabulary, and their customer service hold times would probably be measured in geological epochs. And what about Type 3 civilizations? Their energy departments would need to coordinate power distribution across multiple star systems, manage the energy equivalent of 100 billion suns, and presumably maintain customer service call centers that span several spiral arms of the galaxy. They'd probably have automated systems that could calculate your energy usage across multiple stellar regions while you're still figuring out how to pronounce kilowatt hour.
Kilowatt?
The really fascinating aspect of the Kardashev Scale is how it reveals our assumptions about technological progress. Kardashev assumed that any sufficiently advanced civilization would naturally pursue maximum energy consumption, essentially treating the universe like a vast resource extraction operation. It's a very Soviet approach to cosmic development. If there's energy available, a proper civilization should be using all of it efficiently and systematically. But this raises interesting questions about whether maximum energy consumption actually correlates with advanced intelligence, or whether truly advanced civilizations might pursue more sustainable, efficient approaches. Maybe Type 4 civilizations have figured out how to run entire galaxies on the cosmic equivalent of energy-efficient LED bulbs, making our current approach look like heating our homes by burning furniture. The Kardashev Scale is just the beginning of our cosmic humbling experience. The universe has provided us with an entire buffet of measurements designed to make us feel appropriately small, each more psychologically devastating than the last. Let's start with the observable universe, which has a diameter of approximately 93 billion light-years.
What?
Now, before you ask how the universe can be 93 billion light-years across when it's only 13.8 billion years old, remember that space itself has been expanding this entire time, like a cosmic balloon being inflated by an entity with truly impressive lung capacity. Within this observable universe, astronomers estimate there are roughly 10 to the 24th stars. That's a 1 followed by 24 zeros, or approximately 1 sextillion stars. To put this in perspective, there are more stars in the observable universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth, and not one of them is named Steve. But the spatial scale is nothing compared to cosmic time scales, which exist specifically to make human civilization feel like a brief administrative error. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old. Human civilization, from the development of agriculture to our current ability to argue about things on the internet, has existed for roughly 10,000 years. That means all of recorded human history represents about 7/10 millionths of a percent of cosmic time. Or, to put it another way, roughly the last 2.2 seconds of a year. If the universe's entire history were compressed into a single calendar year, all of human civilization would occur in the final moments before midnight on December 31st. We're essentially the cosmic equivalent of that person who shows up to the office New Year's party just as everyone's putting on their coats to leave.
Goodbye.
This brings us to the Drake equation, formulated by astronomer Frank Drake in 1961 as a way to estimate the number of active communicating extraterrestrial civilizations in our galaxy. The equation considers factors like the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the likelihood of life developing, and the probability of intelligent life evolving communication technology. Depending on how optimistic or pessimistic you are about each variable, the Drake equation can predict anywhere from we're completely alone to the galaxy is teeming with civilizations who are all probably wondering why nobody returns their calls. The most sobering aspect of the Drake equation is its inclusion of L, the length of time civilizations remain detectable. If most civilizations either destroy themselves or transcend the need for detectable communication relatively quickly, then the galaxy could be full of intelligent life that's either extinct or has moved beyond our ability to recognize it. We might be living in a cosmic ghost town, surrounded by the ruins of civilizations that briefly flickered into existence and then vanished, leaving behind only the interstellar equivalent of abandoned office buildings. These measurements have real-world applications that extend far beyond existential anxiety. SETI research programs use these scales to determine where to focus their limited resources. If there are 10 to the 24 stars out there, how do you decide which ones are worth monitoring for signs of intelligent life? The Kardashev Scale helps researchers prioritize by looking for energy signatures that might indicate Type 2 or Type 3 civilizations, massive engineering projects that would be detectable across interstellar distances. Space exploration priorities also depend on understanding cosmic scales. When you're planning missions that take decades to reach their destinations and cost billions of dollars, you need to think in terms of cosmic time and space. The James Webb Space Telescope, for instance, is designed to observe galaxies that are so distant that we're seeing them as they existed when the universe was only a few 100 million years old. Essentially, cosmic baby photos that took 13 billion years to develop and deliver. The corporate parallels are almost too perfect. Imagine if quantum improbability solutions tried to implement these scales in their performance management system. The Department of Geological Productivity would measure employee output over million-year periods, making quarterly reviews seem refreshingly frequent. Project timelines would be measured in cosmic epochs, with milestone deadlines like Phase 1 completion before the heat death of the universe and Phase 2 launch sometime after the Andromeda Galaxy collision. The QIS Strategic Planning Committee would need to account for continental drift in their facility location decisions. Their 5-year business plan would need to include contingencies for stellar evolution, galactic rotation, and the eventual expansion of the Sun into a red giant. Performance improvement plans would span multiple geological eras, giving employees plenty of time to develop new skills, while entire mountain ranges formed and eroded around them. Employee development programs would operate on truly long-term scales. By the end of this eon, we expect all associates to have mastered interdepartmental communication across multiple stellar regions. Career advancement would be measured against the backdrop of cosmic evolution. Congratulations on your promotion to senior manager. You've shown consistent growth over the past 50 million years, and we're confident you'll continue to excel as our solar system completes another few orbits around the galactic center. But here's where the cosmic perspective becomes unexpectedly liberating rather than depressing. When you realize that the entire human species represents a barely detectable blip in cosmic history, and that our most ambitious achievements wouldn't register on any meaningful universal scale, there's a strange comfort in the mundane bureaucracy of daily existence. If the universe doesn't care whether you file your TPS reports correctly, then maybe the real victory is in the act of filing them anyway, in creating small pockets of order and meaning in a vast, indifferent cosmos. The philosophical implications are profound. In a universe where entire galaxies can be classified as measurement errors, the fact that humans have developed bureaucratic systems sophisticated enough to make us miserable might actually represent a remarkable achievement. We've created meaning through spreadsheets, found purpose in performance reviews, and built entire civilizations around the shared delusion that quarterly targets matter. It's either the most beautiful act of cosmic rebellion or the most elaborate practical joke ever played on the laws of physics. Perhaps the real wonder isn't that we're insignificant on a cosmic scale, but that we're significant enough to know we're insignificant. In a universe with a septillion stars, we're the ones who figured out how to count them. In a cosmos that spans 93 billion light years, we're the species that measured it. And in a reality where most matter and energy remain completely mysterious to us, we're the ones asking the questions. That might not make us cosmically important, but it makes us cosmically interesting. And in a universe this vast and strange, interesting might be enough. Well, my infinitesimally scaled colleagues, we've reached the end of another quantum measurement crisis. Today we've learned that in the multiverse of cosmic scales, every human achievement exists in a superposition of remarkable for a Type 0 species and barely detectable quantum fluctuation until observed by a Type 2 civilization. We've discovered that the Kardashev Scale reveals humanity's position as cosmic middle management, competent enough to harness some planetary energy, but still calling tech support when we need to reset our fusion reactors. Though I suspect somewhere in the quantum foam of reality, there's a universe where office coffee machines achieve Type 1 status, and corporations like Quantum Improbability Solutions actually measure productivity on reasonable timescales instead of requiring employees to harness the power of entire star systems for their quarterly reviews. From Nikolai Kardashev's original framework for classifying cosmic civilizations to the Drake equation's sobering implications about galactic loneliness, we've explored how the universe provides us with an endless supply of measurements designed to keep our egos appropriately calibrated. We've learned that the observable universe contains more stars than grains of sand on Earth, that human civilization represents roughly the last 2.2 seconds of a cosmic year, and that somewhere out there might be civilizations so advanced they've probably figured out how to make the customer service calls that don't put you on hold for geological epochs. But perhaps most importantly, we've discovered that cosmic insignificance isn't a bug in the universal system. It's a feature. In a reality where entire galaxies qualify as rounding errors, the fact that humans have developed sufficiently complex bureaucratic systems to make ourselves miserable might actually represent our greatest achievement. We've created meaning through performance metrics, found purpose in quarterly targets, and built entire civilizations around the shared conviction that our TPS reports matter, even when the universe remains conspicuously indifferent to our filing systems. Want to explore more cosmic insignificance? Visit us at multiverseemployeehandbook.com, where you'll find fascinating science news and deep dives into civilizational measurement scales. And if you've enjoyed today's journey through the mathematics of cosmic humility, why not share it with a fellow Type 0.73 civilization member? Perhaps you know someone who's been feeling a bit too significant lately and could benefit from learning that their entire existence occurs on a scale smaller than a rounding error in galactic accounting. Spread our signal across the cosmos like the faint radio whispers of a barely detectable technological species. This is your quantum coherent correspondent, reminding you that in the multiverse of cosmic scales, we're all just junior associates in the Department of Universal Irrelevance, filing reports that no one reads in a filing system that spans multiple galaxies. And somehow, that's exactly as it should be. Meanwhile, back at Quantum Improbability Solutions, Nigel Peabody's expense report for stellar energy harvesting equipment is still pending approval in the accounting department, caught in bureaucratic limbo somewhere between rejected for insufficient cosmic scope and filed under adorable attempts at galactic significance. Last we heard, the report had been escalated to the Department of Cosmic Metrics and Compliance Review Board, where it continues to exist in a quantum superposition of approved, denied, and... We're not entirely sure what a Dyson sphere is, but it sounds expensive. The estimated processing time remains somewhere between next fiscal quarter and the eventual collision of the Andromeda and Milky Way galaxies, which, in corporate terms, translates to, "We'll get back to you."
Hello?
Hey, I'm Rob Corrigan, the human who dreamt up the Multiverse Employee Handbook, because I can't stop marveling at how strange and wonderful the universe is, and how often it behaves like a very large company with confusing corporate policies. In a world increasingly run by AI, I think it matters to be clear about what's human-made and what's conjured by machine magic. So here's the straight-up rundown. The host, David, is a professional voice actor. The voice you hear has been digitized using ElevenLabs voice cloning technology, with his blessing and excellent enunciation. The episode thumbnails are created with OpenArt's AI models. Music and sound effects come from Pixabay, composed by human artists. Everything else, the writing, the jokes, the research, is 100% me, human hands, human brain, and occasional human muttering. Thanks for listening, and for being a good human in an increasingly automated cosmos. And if you like this show and make it this far, it would really mean a lot to me if you shared it with a colleague, a friend, or anyone. It's really the best way to make podcasts like this grow, and I sincerely appreciate it.
Rob, do stop ringing after hours. The kettle's on and I'm halfway through a biscuit. Toodaloo.